Today on GreenCars, the podcast, we talk to Austin Brown with the Department of Energy and send our producer out to pick up the trash in a clean, natural gas-powered garbage truck. It all starts right now. Welcome to GreenCars, the podcast where we talk about all things involving hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and electric vehicles. I'm Trish Close.
And I'm Dave Nichols. Today we're going to find out what's going on inside the Department of Energy's Vehicle Technologies Office to lower the cost and increase deployment of plug-in hybrid and electric vehicles.
And what is this I hear about we're sending our producer out to pick up the trash?
It is true.
Okay.
Our own David Biondi will join Rogue Disposal in Medford, Oregon to make the rounds in a garbage truck that runs on clean natural gas. He also will pull back the curtain to show us how garbage is collected, sorted, and mined for methane to be used in homes and someday vehicles.
So the gas from our garbage is being used in homes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And our producer said the interview did not stink.
I'll bet. But you got a much sweeter smelling experience for Earth Day.
I did, yes. I got to head out to Science Works in Ashland in their Earth Day celebration involving electric cars and interviewed some good-smelling people.
Good. That's good.
But first, let's check out the latest EV news.
Here's what's up. USA Today reports that a new Google Maps feature is a game changer for EV drivers. As we know, 1.6 million EVs were sold in the U.S. last year. One of the biggest concerns for new EV drivers is finding places to charge their cars while on trips. A new feature in Google Maps shows you where charging stations are located in real time as you travel. Drivers will get detailed summaries that will lead you right to the charger and even tell you real-time port availability and charging time. To help with overnight travel plans, Google Search's travel page also shows hotels with available EV charging.
That is a great idea. And speaking of charging, Bloomberg tells us that the United States now has a fast charging station for every 15 gas stations in the country.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Yep, the number of fast charging stations increased by 7.6% in the first quarter of the year, bringing us to nearly 8,200 active stations for EVs.
Wow, so how many new charging stations were turned on in the first quarter?
Over 600, and Tesla was responsible for more than a quarter of those. Bloomberg estimates that annual worldwide public charging revenue will rise to $127 billion by 2030.
All right. Our very own GreenCars news reports that Tesla recently built its 6 millionth car, and the Model Y is the best-selling EV in the world. It also mentions Tesla home chargers are highly rated, bringing solar panels and power walls to consumers to generate their own electricity, reducing energy costs.
That is right. Don't forget, get the answers to all of your hybrid and EV questions. Visit greencars.com. And that's what's up.
And that brings us to our interview with Austin Brown, Director of the Vehicle Technologies Office with the Department of Energy. Austin, we're so excited to have you with us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
We're going to dive on into the basics here. Vehicle Technologies Office supports a variety of work to lower the cost and increase deployment for plug-in hybrids and EVs. Why should people be interested in these particular vehicles?
Thank you. Yeah, the short answer is lots of reasons. Electric vehicles are already more affordable in the long run, so over the life of the vehicle. They offer really great performance. People, once they drive them, it's tough to go back. They're increasingly for everybody, and they're creating enormous economic opportunity in the United States. Let me say just a little bit more about each, because I know that was a little bit of a laundry list. So they're already more affordable because electric vehicles, especially if you can charge them at home or at work, save you money on gasoline, and they also have significantly lower maintenance costs. And these aren't small numbers. We've looked at this closely, and it depends on how you drive in the specific vehicle. Many vehicles you can save over $10,000 over the course of owning that vehicle. So that's not like a few bucks back in your pocket. That's potentially game-changing savings for a family. And those savings just keep getting bigger as you go, and you're able to not have to go back to the gas station. So they're cleaner too. They produce zero emissions out of the tailpipe in the case of electric vehicles, and much lower tailpipe emissions for plug-in hybrids. And even when you account for the electricity used and the manufacturing of the vehicle, they're much, much cleaner over the life of the vehicle. You get sort of payback, that is, they start being cleaner overall after about a year or two of ownership. It takes a little bit more energy to make them, but then they so quickly have cleaner emissions in use that flips over, and they're cleaner from about a year or two after you start driving them. And importantly, they don't emit any pollution in the communities where they're driven, right? So the highways or the parking lots or wherever you have the vehicle, there's nothing coming out of that tailpipe. So they're bringing cleaner air right into the communities where they're used. And then, we often talk about electric vehicles like, oh, it's a chore, I'm gonna have to drive this EV. But once you actually drive them, they have really amazing performance. They really responsive. The electric motor can sort of immediately respond when you hit the accelerator compared to the time it takes for a gas engine to start up. And so a lot of people, once they've driven a really nice modern EV, they go, oh, wow, I see there's some really great benefits. They're quiet. That especially matters for heavy vehicles, school buses, and things like that. They offer a lot of really great performance benefits. And then they're creating this vast economic opportunity right now. The transition we're now in the middle and early stages of to create an EV and battery industry in the United States is, I think, one of the biggest opportunities in this last generation to bring good paying jobs to the economy. We've already seen well over $150 billion in announced investments in battery manufacturing and electric vehicle manufacturing. We are in the process of onshoring and reshoring the vehicle industry in a way that we haven't seen in many decades. And I just think that's unbelievably exciting for the kinds of opportunity that'll be. And that's before we even start to talk about the jobs associated with installing, maintaining, and operating the charging infrastructure that's already going into place to power these vehicles. So from top to bottom, there's just tons of reasons we're excited to be working on the future of transportation in electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids.
Austin, how's the department helping automakers to increase EV range to 300 miles and decrease charging time?
Yeah, so the Vehicle Technologies Office at DOE, we're first and foremost an applied research, development, and deployment office. That means that we fund projects at the national labs, at universities, and then with industry to help drive better technology. Um, we do that in a variety of different areas. One example is on battery packs. So one of our office goals is that by 2028, we'll bring battery packs levels down to less than $90 a kilowatt hour. Now, I know that number probably doesn't mean a lot to people, but if you go back to 2010, batteries cost more than $1,000 a kilowatt hour. So that's more than a 90% reduction. And the good news is we've already, in part because of our work and with the research and development out there in industry, brought them down more than 80%. So we're already most of the way there. And we're driving now towards that 2028 goal to make sure that batteries are then not just cost competitive, so you save money over the life of the vehicle, but that the vehicle itself is actually cheaper to purchase once the battery costs get low. So that's one example where we take batteries, we look at, okay, what are they costing now? What are the performance needed? How fast do they charge? We set performance goals, and then we fund applied research in the community to go out and pursue those research goals. But we're not done. There's many other new chemistries. We're working now on chemistries that reduce or eliminate the dependence on critical minerals in batteries, that have even faster charge rates. As you mentioned, the ability to charge a vehicle is important for a driver. It gets to be incredibly important when you're talking about like a heavy duty truck that might need to charge, in the middle of a long haul transportation. So the research is going on now to bring that charge rate up even further.
Let's talk about charging. We understand the Biden-Harris administration recently announced $46.5 million to enhance EV charging reliability and to grow the clean energy workforce. Tell us how this will help EV charging performance.
Yeah, so we are seeing a really extraordinary growth now in public electric vehicle charging. We have an administration goal to get to a national network of 500,000 public EV charging ports by 2030, and we're well on track to get to that potentially even early, in part because of the major investments we're making. So you mentioned the 46.5 million. This is a big and exciting piece because it's focused on reliability and workforce. With reliability, many of the early chargers that have gone in over the past couple of decades just aren't holding up as well as we need them to. Many EV drivers have that experience where they go to a station and it's just not that level of of uptime and reliability that they want. Well, this is focusing on going in and not just fixing those chargers in place, because it's much easier to fix a charger than to build a whole new one because the grid connections are already there, but then also to use that opportunity to build out the workforce so that, because those are local jobs, right? Fixing, maintaining, and operating those chargers, you can't outsource those. Those are going to be there in those communities. And we're using this opportunity to help build that expertise and give leaders in those communities the chance to get a team together that can be on the ground for the next round of chargers to go in as well. And then what's incredibly exciting is that's just one little piece of the more than $7.5 billion that we're investing in EV charging right now through the administration. It really is a first of kind opportunity. And we're not just using that to put chargers in the ground. We mentioned reliability as a challenge. Well, we can do things when we're putting federal funding to it. We can put requirements on it to make sure that those chargers are going to meet our needs. So as an example, that funding comes with a requirement for 97% uptime of those chargers, so that when you're going to go on a road trip, you're going to have somewhere that not only will there be a charger, but it'll be available, it'll be high power, and it'll be able to serve the need that we see.
And I know our viewers and listeners are very curious. So, what are some other ways the DOE is working to create convenient EV charging for all Americans?
Yeah, I mean, how nerdy do you want me to get, I guess is the question. Um, Let me tell you my absolute favorite one. So right now, there's a variety of different charging networks out there. Each of them are competing to try to provide that charging service. And that's great. We want to have that competition. But it means that as an EV driver, sometimes you need to have multiple different apps on your phone to try to find where the nearest charger might be. Well, the chargers that we're installing with this federal funding, not only do they have to be open to anybody who's going to want to use them, but they also have to do two big things. One, they have to share data on their status, their location, and more information publicly in a way that any app can use it. So you can have multiple charging networks with that information coming up and then being available to any app that might help people find where they would want to have a charger. There's data standards out there that say no matter which network is sharing the information, whatever app I'm using can still find all of them. So it creates a portal by which all of the different apps can access that information.
Let's talk about the DOE working in the community. Explain about the 75 Clean Cities and Communities Coalition around the country.
So when I said that we're an applied R&D demonstration and deployment program, that's really a big piece of our deployment strategy. So I talked a little bit about all this R&D that we're doing with labs, with academia, and with industry. Well, what about when we actually want to get those technologies out there in the real world? That's where our Clean Cities and Communities coalitions come in. And we actually just renamed it to add that "and communities" because we think that best reflects what these groups are actually doing in practice around the country. There's 75 Clean Cities and Communities coalitions. They're grassroots organizations of different sizes and scales, but in every state and covering well over 80% of people in those different community regions. And they're at their core, they're partnerships between different sorts of organizations at that local level. Organizations like utilities, like fleet owners and operators, like city leaders and governments, all coming together with the interest in improving their transportation system and developing a more sustainable transportation system for their community. And what I love about Clean Cities and Communities is it's not one size fits all. It's the exact opposite. Every single one of them has a different strategy. They have a different portfolio that they're looking for. They have a different set of priorities and focuses all around the same overall goal, but with a completely different array of solutions that they're working on to get to the sorts of goals that they're reaching for.
Besides some of the obvious, what incentives are available to help people entice them to purchase hybrid and electric vehicles?
It's a really, really exciting time to be shopping for an electric vehicle. The Inflation Reduction Act extended and expanded and changed the incentives that are available to consumers. So you can get up to $7,500 off the sticker price of many of the new vehicles available. Now it added new requirements for that incentive that require the battery components and the minerals that are in the batteries to increasingly come from domestic or free trade partners. So there are some vehicles that aren't eligible. You can find the full list on fueleconomy.gov. We keep that up to date in a partnership with the Treasury. But for many of them, those incentives are available that can make it even more affordable to buy a new electric vehicle. And then the one I'm really excited about that's just gotten started in terms of its impact is a brand new credit for used electric vehicles, and we've never had one of those before. That's up to $4,000 off the price of a used EV for households that meet income requirements. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up EV ownership as not just viable, but the most cost-effective option for the households that really need it the most. The households that spend a ton of their relative income on transportation. Maybe they have, an inefficient gas car that spends a ton. It's a gas guzzler, spends a ton on gasoline, and then, when one repair can mean the difference between being able to get to work or not. It's a big deal for those households. I think used EVs maybe have the most value to bring, and we're just getting started. So that used EV credit, I think, is going to be truly transformative. We're seeing now the price of used EVs fall. People will talk about that in the news like it's this disaster. I mean, I guess it's not great if you're trying to sell an EV necessarily, but that's part of what we want to see happen, right? We want prices to come down. Dropping prices is a good thing for the people who are going to be buying those vehicles, and dropping new vehicle prices, which we've seen, then mean that the people who are selling their used EV can go buy a new one for a more affordable vehicle overall. And that's how it works, right? We know that more than 2/3 of car buyers buy used vehicles. That's what most of us are driving. So having this extra incentive to help get folks there and help the families that really can benefit the most from that cost savings, the communities that can benefit the most from the cleaner air, have that access to that technology. I think that's just unbelievably exciting.
Let's bring those prices down. I hear you. What's new? What's on the horizon for the DOE?
There's so many things I'm excited about. I mentioned some of the big investments that are going on right now. We're also just incredibly excited about some of the opportunities we're able to provide around onshoring and friendshoring that supply chain. So at Department of Energy, we're investing more than $7 billion in the domestic battery supply chain. That's not just the battery plants, but the components and the processing that goes into getting the minerals into those plants. And that's been an incredibly productive first round. We're working on the second round right now to be able to get more of those incentives out. And then there's a really amazing grant program, again, first of kind under the Inflation Reduction Act, that's providing $2 billion to help automakers and parts suppliers transition their existing manufacturing to be for electric vehicles and electric vehicle supply chains. We know that in the communities where auto manufacturing is central, a single facility can be the anchor that the local economy revolves around. So even though we know we're going to see job growth from this transition to electric vehicles overall, it's not enough to say, well, we'll have new jobs somewhere. We need to make sure that those new jobs are actually going into the same communities where the jobs are now, and where they have a long history of a strong partnership with the auto industry.
All right, so Austin, before we let you go, we've got a question for you. What vehicle do you currently drive?
So it's a gotcha. I didn't even get prepped for this one, but so I live in Washington, D.C. My wife and 4-year-old, when we moved here from California, we left our vehicle behind. So it's still with my mother. That was a Chevy Bolt. It was a 2017 Chevy Bolt. So the first year that it was offered. I said, if you don't, when I told her when we left it there, I said, if this doesn't work for you, then we'll sell it, no problem. We just didn't really want to try to ship it all the way across the country. And about a week later, she said, I don't want to drive anything else. This is the one I want to drive. So she now lent her other car off to a family member and kept the Bolt, and that's the one that she uses to get around. In DC, we do have 2 electric vehicles, but both of them are bicycles. So we have an electric cargo bike, which is how we get our 4-year-old around. It's called an Urban Arrow. It's fabulous. It's got the bucket in front. It's a Dutch style bike. They're becoming more and more common now. And then we have just a single regular electric bike so that we can all go out together when we go places. But most of the time, bus and metro is how we get around. Our 4-year-old is absolutely obsessed with trains, and so metro is his favorite way to get around the city.
So with all the EVs around, if you were to buy an EV, what would you purchase? What electric vehicle would you get?
Oh, I shouldn't just pick one. I actually don't know. I have no idea. It would just depend on what we needed, right? So one of the things we're really excited about, if you go back a few years, there were just a handful of models that you could get. So you had to make a decision, am I going to buy an EV or not? And then if you were going to buy an EV, you had to go find one and sometimes make some compromises around the size, the form factor, the style, the brand. That's changing incredibly quickly. So we're now getting to where there's going to be over 100 different kinds of models available. So you can really match that up to what you want. So it would depend for me on where we are financially at that time, what we're needing to do, what kind of trips we're looking for. So I don't have a way to answer that right now. I'm just excited that there's a ton of new options that are out there and available.
Okay, well, we'll ask you that question at the next interview.
Okay. Deal.
Austin, thank you so much. Once again, Austin Brown, Director of Vehicle Technologies Office with the Department of Energy. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I think you can tell I love talking about this stuff. It's just a really exciting time to be working on clean transportation, and really, really happy to talk about it here with you all.
Well, we can definitely see your passion and your energy, and we really appreciate you.
Man, he just lights up, doesn't he? When he starts talking about electric vehicles.
I had no idea that the DOE is involved in so many different things having to do with green cars and bringing them to the masses.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that brings us to a different kind of green car. Hope you're ready for this. Our producer, David Biondi, is riding along with the intrepid sanitation engineers over at Rogue Disposal. Now, they use clean natural gas to power a portion of their fleet of garbage trucks. You see it. It's got the CNG on the side.
Yep.
They also mine for methane gas at the landfill, which is being used in some homes and will soon be available in vehicles.
Yep. And it's a good thing this piece isn't in smell-o-vision, Trish.
All right, hey everybody, this is Dave Biondi with GreenCars, and we are taking a field trip today with Rogue Disposal here in Southern Oregon, and we are going around picking up trash cans today, and we're going to be checking out their big trucks that run off clean natural gas. Also, they mine for methane, which we're going to check that out, and check out what the future is of garbage pickup. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned.
My journey to Rogue Disposal started at the compressed natural gas, or CNG, filling station north of Medford. It was there that I was scheduled to meet up with my tour guide for the day, Gary Penning.
I am the Director of Governmental Affairs and Marketing.
All right, awesome. So thank you for being with us today. Gary's going to be giving us a tour of everything Rogue Disposal. So Gary, why don't you tell us where we are right now?
We're at Rogue Clean Fuels, where we fuel our CNG fleet that goes around and picks up the garbage in Medford.
And so actually the truck that I just got out of was a CNG truck. So why don't you tell us about this facility?
So this facility is open to the public, so anybody who has a credit card and a CNG car or truck can come in here and fuel, just like any gas station. And what happens here is we take the natural gas, same stuff that goes into households for heat and stoves, and we compress that through these compressors over here, and we pump that PSI up. So when the truck comes in and fuel, it's very much like filling a propane tank. So they hook up, the cutoff pressure is 3,600 PSI, and that's the equivalent of about 75 gallons of diesel. He's just done fueling, and he'll be taking off now and going back out to his route. And you can notice how quiet that truck is compared to a diesel truck.
Yeah, definitely. It's very nice for our audio guy. And so then as far as what other vehicles may stop by here? So
we have local fleets that run around and pick up and deliver stuff. We also have some over-the-road fleets. For a while, a company that delivered postal products from Sacramento to Portland stopped in here and fueled their fleet off of I-5. So we get a lot of traffic off of I-5 that comes in here and fuels up.
So how long has this station been here?
It's been here about 6 years. And when we built this partially through a grant from the Department of Transportation, and the reason we got that grant is the fact that it is open to the public and it's open 24/7.
Nice. All right, excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to the tour today. We're going to be taking off and going and checking out many other areas of Rogue Disposal, so let's go.
The first leg of the tour took us to the Rogue Disposal Transfer and Recycling Station.
All right, so why don't you explain where are we going now?
We are actually coming into the transfer station, and this is where the public comes in and drops their garbage off. So we have both residential and commercial customers coming in here. We've got a large piece of equipment that's, pushing the garbage up on this conveyor belt. It then gets conveyed up and into this trailer and gets compacted down, and then it gets covered with a tarp so nothing gets blown out on the road. And then once this trailer is full, it'll be delivered to the landfill where that's its final destination.
So you had mentioned to me when we were talking previously to coming out here that, people bring you the garbage. There's this perception of landfills and that, it's bad, but you said something cool. What was that the other day?
Well, we don't produce anything. We just take what society is done using. And so there is maybe a misconception about landfills. But if you do have to dispose of something, the safest place to get rid of it is a modern day landfill, because there's liners underneath it that keep the water from going into the groundwater. We capture whatever biogases come off it. And then when we're done, we cover it, with dirt and a final cover. So we really are sort of a repository, and it's the safest place for stuff to go when you're done using it.
At long last, it was time to see the final destination of my household waste and learn how it's mined for methane, which meant a visit to the Dry Creek Landfill.
We're at the landfill here in Southern Oregon, and this is the final destination for all that waste that was picked up at the curbside and then went through the transfer station. So this is where its final stop is, where it's going to be environmentally handled and taken care of.
So that's awesome. So behind us, I just noticed a huge dump of something going there, some garbage. So why don't you explain where all that came from?
So this landfill is a regional landfill. So we serve northwestern California and southwestern Oregon. So we serve about 7 to 8 different counties.
Gary, why don't you tell me, how many acres are we on right now?
So we're permitted to put garbage in 250 acres per our permit with the Oregon DEQ, and we're actively in 3 to 5 acres. The rest of it is all covered and sealed.
All right, so let's talk about this bad boy behind us, which you've got scattered all throughout, and this is the main thing we want to talk about, is the methane mining.
So this is one of our gas collection wells, and we have over 100 of those here in the active landfill. And what it does is basically, if you think about it, it's just a large vacuum hose that runs throughout the landfill, and we slowly pull the biogas that has the methane in it, and it's taken down to our gas to energy facility, where we either burn it to produce energy for about 3,000 homes, or it's flared off through some flares, which destroys the methane and carbon dioxide.
Okay, so how many of these methane pipes do you have around here?
Well, we have both vertical wells like you see here, and then we have horizontal wells. And between the two, we have at least 100 that are active right now. And since the landfill started, there's been over 200 in place. But they do have a useful life, and some of those are beyond their useful life.
And so how long have you been using this sort of system here?
Well, the methane's been extracted from the landfill within 2 or 3 years after waste started being put in it. By law, once you place waste in a landfill, you have to have a gas extraction system in place after 5 years. So these have been going on for 20, 25 years or so.
Wow. Okay.
The final stop on the tour would show us the end result of all this work.
Gary, why don't you tell us where we are right now?
We're at the gas to energy plant, and this is where all the gas is collected and brought to. And a portion of it is burned into 2,000 horsepower engines, and we produce enough electricity for about 3,000 homes a day here. So we saw the wells earlier, and then what this facility does, if you think about it, we've got just a really, really big vacuum cleaner hooked to all those wells, and it brings it down into a consolidation point, and then that gas is cleaned up a little bit. We take the dust out of it, for lack of better words, and then we chill it, which takes the water out of it. Once it's cleaned up to that point, it can be run through these engines.
It's been a real fun day today. We've learned a lot, and from the truck that I was in earlier today, from going to the transfer station and then coming here to the landfill, you're really able to see the full story of what happens and kind of behind the curtain.
Well, when people roll their cart out or their can out to the street, they come home and it's empty, and that's the extent of their thought process. They really don't see the behind-the-scenes story like we've done today. It's a very complex industry. It's a very fascinating industry because it's all aspects. It's engineering, it's computers, it's large equipment. And really, this is the story of how that waste is safely managed and disposed of so it protects not only the health of the citizens, but also the environment.
What's the future of rogue disposal?
So our next big project is this renewable natural gas, RNG. So we're going to take this gas that's being used in homes, we're going to clean it up more, get it to what's called pipeline quality. It'll get put into the natural gas pipeline system, and then our trucks will be able to run on renewable natural gas. So the fuel they're using to pick it up was actually from the garbage that folks threw away months or years before.
Wow, and that's going to be awesome. So you heard it here first, from GreenCars to green all the way around. This has been Dave and Gary, and we've had quite a day. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
The Dave and Gary Show.
Taking out the trash. That was great.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
I loved it.
And now it is time to crack open a fresh can of your questions as we unseat the rank GreenCars mailbag. What do you have for us, Trish?
Why does it have to be rank? Why does the mailbag have to be? Last episode, it was dank.
Yeah.
I never know what's going to come out of this mailbag.
That's how it should be.
Okay.
You never know.
Well, let's crack into it. Take a look at some of the comments we're getting. How about social media? We received a number of Instagram posts about EV maintenance after our last podcast segment on maintenance. Sammy from Miami says, I have owned a Chevy Bolt for 2 years now. I'm amazed by how little maintenance it requires. I enjoyed your interview with Tony Foley and think it would be really cool to train as an EV tech. How do I get started?
Well, interestingly, the Department of Energy offers its Champion EV Training Series, which is a 4-part course developed by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. You can find out more about it at the link on your screen.
Love it. Our next missive, which I just learned means short message.
Yes.
Our next missive comes from Carly Turnson of Linwood, Washington, who asks, are there any companies that offer EV car sharing?
There are indeed, Carly. In fact, we interviewed someone from such a company in our Earth Day coverage that is coming right up. Check out such companies as Go Forth Car Share, Blink Mobility, Zipcar, and Share EV, just to name a few.
All right. And speaking of our Earth Day coverage and that EV share company, you met up with some interesting GreenCars fans in Ashland, Oregon.
I did indeed.
All right, let's check that out.
We are here in Ashland, Oregon for Earth Day, and I'm here with Kevin Jennings, who is the man behind GreenCars, which we all do the podcast for him. So, Kevin, a couple years ago, we were out here in this same parking lot doing test drives for people who had never been in an EV before. And look how much it's changed in a couple years. There's a lot more interest in EVs in general, and we're moving in that direction. And so can you kind of tell us, what was it like a couple years ago when it was basically just you and me?
Empty. If I were to describe it in one word, no, it wasn't really empty, but there was a lot less cars here. And we're here with a club that invited us to be here, right? And that club has even grown, probably doubled in size since the last couple of years have gone by. So, there's a ton of vendors here. I'd say at least twice as many tents that I'm able to see just from here. It's grown a lot. It's great to see.
Yep. And for people who may not know, what is GreenCars really all about?
GreenCars came about in 2020, so we're about 4 going on 5 years in now. But the mission of what we're doing is to accelerate the adoption of more sustainable vehicles, and that means a lot of things. It's helping people save money on gas. I was just listening to the radio today, and on average, people are spending $5,000 a year on gas, and I think that's really driven a lot of the recent adoption, and it accelerated things a bit, just the price of gas alone. But there's other parts to our mission, and it's just reducing the greenhouse gases, helping people reduce their carbon footprint. And even if they're not quite ready, just generating their awareness, giving people the knowledge and the education to make more informed decisions, because otherwise they might not know what they're buying, might have the opposite effect of what they're looking for. So it's just, we're here to educate. We're just here to help people make better decisions.
And part of that is GreenCars, the podcast. So you can listen to it, you can watch it on YouTube and lots of other places. So, right?
Yep. Check us out. YouTube, Instagram, everything. We're good.
Everything. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Hey, we're here with Pete. He is the president of SOHEVA. And Pete, what does that stand for?
It's the Siskiyou and Oregon Hybrid and Electric Vehicle Association.
It's been going on since around 2010?
Well, actually, close to that, yes. I don't remember the exact year that we started, quite frankly, but it's been a long time.
And Pete, what are we doing here today?
Well, today we are our electric vehicle owners and others brought their cars, and we're showing them to the public who are coming to the Earth Day event. And our whole thing is learn from locals about electric vehicles. And so we're here to answer questions, trying to help people understand how it all works.
Yep. And I'll tell you, what's interesting is they've been doing this for quite a while, and we've been here at this event for several years now. It's Earth Day celebration in Ashland, Oregon at Science Works, and people come from all over the place to see electric vehicles and to check them out. Sometimes we even have test drives and things of that nature. It's really pretty cool. So what are you guys going to do today? Anything special?
Well, we have over at our area there, we are setting up a track where the children can race solar-powered electric cars, just to kind of get the kids interested in the concept to begin with.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we do it?
You bet. Come on over here. You're only a kid once, forever.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
We're going to do that. Can you tell us your name and where you're from?
Yes, my name is Alan Journet. I live in Jacksonville, and I'm a co-facilitator of Southern Oregon Climate Action Now, which has existed in the Rogue Valley for 12 years. And our activity is trying to address climate change.
And so you're probably either an EV owner or you will be.
We own a Prius hybrid electric vehicle, and we are on the edge of buying a full electric vehicle.
And what are you talking to people about here today?
We are encouraging folks to engage with the climate fight, both on a personal level and in a collective way, which means what folks do individually is tremendously important, but it's not enough. What we also have to get people doing is engage collectively in persuading their elected officials at the city, county, state, and federal level to be sensitive to and conscious of the climate crisis and aware of the effect of everything they do in terms of its impact on climate.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
We are here with Stephanie Griggs from Forth. And Stephanie, what exactly is Forth?
Yeah, Forth is a nonprofit that is aiming to increase access to electric transportation and really promote electrification in an equitable way.
Wow. That sounds kind of good. And how do you guys do that?
Yeah, we have a number of programs, and specifically I'd love to talk about our car share program, Go Forth Car Share, which allows for folks to rent all electric car share programs at as low as $5 an hour. And it's really meant to bridge that gap between folks that might not be able to buy an EV. We fully recognize that's not accessible, but still want the experience and benefits of driving an electric vehicle.
That's brilliant. That's pretty cool. And so, do you drive an EV yourself?
I do, yeah. I drive a Chevy Bolt EUV.
Wow, that's pretty great. What do you think?
I love it. Previously, my first car was a 98 Volkswagen Beetle, which I love dearly. Ran it to the ground, and then I was like, it got about 45 miles to gallon. And the next best thing is to go electric, and it's been awesome. Don't have much to think about in terms of maintenance. I've had to replace my windshield wipers, and I'll have to do my tires sometime, but that's really it.
That's pretty great. So before you had the Bolt, did you have range anxiety? Were you worried about things like that?
No, I wasn't. So my Bug was diesel, so I didn't really have to think much in terms of, fueling up about it. And I'd say with the Bolt, it's a learning experience. I don't have much range anxiety so much as I know that I just have to plan a little bit more before my longer trips.
Right. Yeah, so what we find is a lot of times once someone owns an EV, that kind of dissipates,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, totally. My first trip, I was mildly nervous. My first long trip, I was like, oh, okay. I had several different places where I could charge up in case, one didn't work. That still happens. Sometimes there'll be downtime at stations where they're not working, but overall, my experience has been pretty easy in owning and being able to go long distance trips.
And how do people get a hold of Forth?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, forthmobility.org, and you can learn about all the work we do even beyond our car share program.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
There we go.
You learned a lot of stuff out there at Earth Day.
I did. I met a lot of people, a lot of incredible new companies I didn't even know about. And it's amazing to go out to an Earth Day celebration and see so many people that want to get involved in something, how to make their carbon footprint smaller.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with EVs these days.
There's so many people and companies doing such amazing work to help this planet. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. And, we love your comments. We love to hear from you. If you're watching these episodes, please drop us a comment in our YouTube channel. Or if you're listening to the podcast, leave us a comment on our social media platforms.
We love getting your comments. Don't forget, when it comes to EVs, stay informed, stay charged. We'll see you next time. Follow us at GreenCars HQ. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Email us, thepodcast@greencars.com.